Hello, I'm Max Mortillaro from TECHunplugged. Usually I talk on my channel and on the TECHunplugged YouTube channel about data center and cloud related stuff. But today I would like to talk about something totally different. I'm going to talk about personal health devices, but somehow in a kind of data center or in a kind of a data context. So usually, I don't know how it works for you guys, but for me, whenever I'm taking a shower, I get all sorts of crazy ideas. I guess it's probably the place where ideas emerge for content creation. And you know, recently I've gone through a lot of things. I've had COVID, I recovered from that. I started sporting a lot in 2020, and I'm kind of continuing that actually. After I had COVID in November, I slowly resumed around mid-December sporting activities, and again I've been using my Garmin smartwatch to take care of that, and all of this data is absolutely important because it says so many things about you. It's not just about bragging rights, whether we've been running a bit or doing this great bike ride, but it's collecting a lot of data about our health, about our heartbeat, our sleep, and so on. And some of these can really be important. Actually, I remember that when I visited my doctor post-COVID, because I was complaining of having a kind of short breath, I couldn't breathe. I was getting very tired whenever I was walking, walking a flight of stairs. Then one of the things we checked when I was there was, he checked my pressure, my blood pressure, and said like, yeah, your blood pressure is quite high right now, and your heartbeat as well. And I told him, I'm very tired because I was walking these stairs. And so what we did was we opened the. I told him, we can check on my app and check that. So actually, what I'm using, for instance, is Garmin Connect. But I would say that will be relevant whatever the device you're using, if you're using an Apple Watch or whatever. And so we checked there, and he was curious about checking my history about sleep cycles, about heartbeat in the previous days and all, and just he wanted to make sure that there's nothing. And that was kind of an epiphany for me to realize that it's so much important about what it says about our health, that these data can be used in other contexts. And because I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to IT stuff, I thought of some of my friends, such as Karen Lopez and others, who talk a lot about data. Is your data safe? What do we do with the data? Is it reusable? Can it be exported? And that triggered all sorts of additional thoughts about that. And one of the things which I went to check today was whether the data from your Garmin device can be exported. And why did I check that? Well, if I don't know, maybe not everybody remembers that, but there was a very huge outage on the Garmin side sometime, I think summertime. They were affected by ransomware, presumably, and they shut down everything for a week. People were angered. Nobody could upload their rights. I mean, that was really bad. But if you think about it, if you're a user of those devices and you're using that not just to store health data, right data, but health data, well, that health data can be hugely important to assess whether you have some kind of illness or some chronic problem or whatever. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Most of those companies say that they have, heartbeat measuring capabilities and so on. But probably besides, if we put Apple aside, because they're, I think, certified in the US, I forget the name of the agency, but whatever. Most of them say, okay, data is indicative and should be used. But still, even if it's indicative, I think it's still an important metric. And for a doctor or for whatever healthcare organization, getting some data about you is better than having no data to work on. And that thing, the ransomware attack, the fact that the services were down, we had no clue what was going on, and the fact that you're storing your data there kind of brings the question about how do we bake up the data? How do we make sure that we can access it? Can we export it? Can we port it to some other service? Is there even a standard for this kind of data? Can we do that? Can we not do that? Is there an industry standard? I don't think there's anything right now. So what I did was I went into the Garmin application and tried to figure out what is there. And apparently you can export the data, all of your data from Garmin. I think it's probably in CSV format, so it's not terribly exciting. I have no idea how that really maps to something usable, but at least there's something. Anyways, I've raised an export request, and I hope to be back to share maybe on Twitter or somewhere else about, what did I get and whether it makes sense or not. But I think it's a kind of an interesting, perhaps, topic to be opened. I don't know if some people are really sorting that out. I would hope that it happens. But as you see, there are more and more SaaS-based services, so cloud services that we use every day. Microsoft Teams, not just Teams, but all of those platforms that we use to collaborate, to share data, and so on. And you want to have the insurance somehow that your data is safe and that you can retrieve it. And the question is, why should that be only for enterprises? Consumers, users should also have access to that kind of data, especially when it comes to health, because it can make all the difference in the world. If the data is correlated, shared, it can help you detect something, some trends. And if you go even beyond that, you could imagine that some company, some startup, some organization could figure out some software, some analysis software that they can provide to practitioners, where they can analyze the tracker data, heart rate, sleep, and so on, and share the data to the practitioner. And your practitioner can then say, get some trends, you run some kind of analytics on that data, and say, look, this guy's sleep has been degrading frequently. He's having moments when he's waking up during night. He's having apnea or something like that. Apple probably does that. I think that's what they do with their smartwatch. I've read several cases of people whose lives have been saved by the capability. But the thing is, you may or may not love the Apple Watch. You may or may not love the ecosystem. It may be too expensive for you. If I talk about me personally, I'm deep into the Apple ecosystem, but I don't like the Apple Watch at all. It is not a device which fulfills my requirements. The only reason why I would want to have one is because it does so many great things from the health perspective, and I'm a hypochondriac at heart, no pun intended. So that would really help me. We have, in my family, we have some kind of history. We've heard, how you call that, infarctus, or forgot the name of that thing, So my grandfather died when he was 55 of a heart attack. My dad had a heart attack at 58. I'm currently 42, so let's say that it's something which is kind of ingrained in my brain, and when I talk about doing sport and doing exercise, this comes up a lot. And frankly, I would be reassured somehow to know that things are good, things are okay, but I would also like to have the freedom of not being bound to a single vendor, in that case, Apple. So I don't know, Garmin, if you're watching that, but it will be really great to know what you guys are doing with that regard. Understand that Apple is a big competitor, maybe Sunto and others, but what is the industry doing to develop those health-related monitoring capabilities? Because I think that's a huge thing. People are a lot into making sure that they are healthy. That's a big thing these days. No doubts about that. And for me, it's a market where there is money to be made. Capabilities can be developed. We're in 2021. Don't tell me that there is not a way to do that. Apple does that. So, how to say that? Smartwatches vendors, sport tracker vendors, maybe it's time to get all together around the table and try to figure that out, because it can deliver tremendous value to a lot of people. And with that, I'm done with today's TECHunplugged take, which is not data center at all, but kind of data related. Thank you for watching me, and talk soon.